Welcome to the Powderhorn Podcast, part of the Okayest Podcast Network, where host Jahred Gamez covers everything that goes bang. From grandpa's lever action to cutting-edge tactical gear, this is your go-to for sharpening skills, building confidence, and geeking out on the rich past and bold future of shooting sports.
Especially with the internet problems that I had in the past. So maybe season 2 will work a little bit better. This is Jahred and my buddy Tim. We are your hosts here at the Powderhorn Podcast, the guys behind the scene here at OK Shooter, where we just like to talk about guns in maybe a little bit more of a candid way than most people are used to. You can be serious shooter, right, Tim?
I mean, you could be, but sometimes we don't like that.
Sometimes you just want to have fun. Guns can be fun. And, Tim, we took a break. I had shitty internet last year, and I think I finally got that rectified. So we're back with season 2. What do you think we're going to do this year?
I'm hoping we learn some stuff. Hopefully there's a couple, little giveaway things and scattered in there. We've touched on that towards the end of season 1. Throw that in air quotes.
We had some plans, and, I think, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of prevention. I don't know that saying. I'm too young to know these old wise men tales, but yeah, I think this season we'll kind of do some giveaways. We're definitely going to kind of do a little bit more with the website, okayshooter.com. And I know over the summer we spent some time out on the road going to some of the events and some of the more local shoots. I didn't get to go to CanCon, which just happened because it's hunting season and my life ends for hunting season. Literally, I see my wife for like 2 days a week just to do laundry, and then it's just right back to hunting. But so over the summer, what's something that just kind of knocked you off your feet? You had a blast doing, and maybe you'd like to go do it again.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot here.
That's what we do.
This is actually the first August that this is completely backwards. I did not attend a show in the month of August.
Really? So no industry work.
Well, there was industry work, but just not shows. So, slightly different for me. I'm not used to that, which I'm all for, but I've done a bunch since. So yeah, it was a nice summer. I got to kind of sit back and relax a little bit and take it all.
Were you like traveling around to gun shops?
Yeah, just some gun shop travel, going out, doing that kind of thing. And
so what was that?
Nice.
What was the highlight shop? I know there's some backroads gems and maybe even some of those bigger corporate-y shops that have popped up, like, Target Sports and all those. But what's a shop that you just walked in and you're like, man, I could spend some money here? And what did they have?
There are 4 shops that I have recently been introduced to that I absolutely love. They are in the Atlanta area, more northeast. It is Bullseye Indoor Range and Gun Shop.
That's
Dead
a classic
Center, Johns Creek, and Trigger Time. It's all owned by the same family. I'm fortunate enough to get to work with those guys now, and they have a ton of cool stuff. I think they're a little bit more tactical driven. They do have some hunting firearms as well, but as far as the selection goes, amazing, great people. They have the ranges as well, which is nice. So you can go in, shoot some stuff.
Oh man, guns. Bullseye is like is almost a historic gem in the gun industry. A little maybe well-known silencer company started in the back of them years ago that kind of turned into the undoing of every major gun company in America.
Correct. I did not know that, and then
really?
I was informed. Yeah, no, they said person worked for that store, was my understanding.
Yeah.
And then started the company, which is
yeah. And I'll say it's a good old Kevin Brittingham, love him or hate him, but AAC, which I think was probably one of the cooler, more fun companies when I was growing up in the gun industry. They weren't all about like cargo tactical pants. They were still just like skateboard punks, and the whole crew there was really cool. And it was really unfortunate to see how AAC grew. And, at some point money, I guess, becomes kind of the root of it. And they sold out, and Remington just annihilated the company. And maybe they're making cans now. I see them pop up every now and again, but it's definitely not what it was. But that gun shop, though, is just a cool shop. So it's neat that you're still in 2025, that, something that was around, or, kind of things when I started way back in the day is still putting rounds in magazines for people.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, great shop. I'm very impressed with their selection across all the stores.
Is there a summertime purchase that you just got to brag about?
Oh man, yeah, actually, through connections in the industry, I was able to acquire, and I had posted it a while back, but Dan Wesson DWX serial number 9 of the 22 production year.
Ooh.
Probably it might be worth something to somebody. It's, I did get a good deal on it, which is nice, but
It's a cool gun.
I just like metal guns. What can I say?
That's one that anytime I'm at a trade show, I walk by and I grab it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have industry pricing." Yeah, then I rack it, and I'm like, "Yeah,
Rack it 20 times."
Yeah, and I'm like, click, 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 and then I walk off. But that is one that, like, if the right deal came up, or maybe just the circumstances lined up, I would snap one up because it's a great feeling gun. It's not the most prolific gun in the industry by any means, but it's one of those guns to me, I just pick it up and I'm like, man, this is really cool. It blends a little bit of, this and a little bit of that to make a really good looking pistol.
Yep. Nope, totally agree.
I'll say my summer has been kind of real muted, I think, in the gun world than what it usually is. It was really hot here in South Carolina, so I went to the range a few times. I did take my son to the PSA gathering, earlier in the year. She had a blast with that, and I totally went incognito, didn't show up like, oh, I'm this guy in the industry. I just showed up with my son, and it was really neat to see him be like, Dad, all these people know you, and we got to shoot some cool guns. And huge shout out to Dead Air Silencers there. Pappas let my son shoot like every gun on the line while everyone else was waiting in line, suffering. He was like, oh yeah, shoot this. So I think the gathering with my son was probably the cooler, but even though that's an earlier in the summer event, but the rest of the summer has just kind of been spent, shooting some guns, filming some content for a variety of companies that I kind of do some stuff for, and just prepping for hunting season. I lost my freezer last year at the end of hunting season and had to take 700 pounds of meat to the landfill, which if you ever have to do that, it takes a few months to recover. I still haven't done that. I thought I'd never spend as much money as I did on a freezer, but I was like, give me the one that connects to a satellite to tell me a temperature fluctuation. And so most of my summer was spent just dialing in my rifles for hunting season because I really wanted to get out and make the most of what I could.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, because the last time we talked about that, it was never hunting again, never ever.
Dude, it's you're scorned by something that you love so much, and then you just swear it off like, I'm never doing this stupid sport again. And then being out in the woods this fall is just kind of gone. I know this is a hunting show, but for a lot of people that shoot guns, you either shoot competitions or you hunt. And those are kind of, I think, the two big disciplines that we're really passionate about. Some people just collect guns, but for me, I'm a devout hunter. I do enjoy the fall, getting out and getting into the woods. And instead of just shooting, that expensive ammo at a piece of paper, you kind of get to put it to a little bit of practice, and maybe you come home with a trophy, a medal, or, in my case, 28 pounds of the freshest venison that I can get after shooting, a deer that I probably shouldn't have shot.
Hey, deer heart the morning after you take it with some eggs is probably one of my favorite things.
I am an immediate guy that takes out the sweet meat or the fish tenderloins. So the inside tenderloins before the deer. I mean, as soon as that thing is field dressed, I cut those out immediately, and I'm, cook them about as rare as you can get them. A little bit of salt, maybe a little bit of butter. Boom. That's my jam at deer camp when you get a deer. So, you guys who shoot competitions, I encourage you to run up to your target and just slice a piece off of there and just give it a good gnaw on. And then you tell me you have it better than hunters.
Guarantee you there's somebody that's going to go do that just for you.
I feel like my friend Craig would totally eat, the little pasty squares. He would just sit there and just munch on those things. And Craig will hear this and call me and be like,
what was that candy that came on that wax paper that you'd like put
on dots, the little
dots,
little dot. Yeah. That's what I feel like, definitely a 2011 shooter would definitely eat those.
Nice.
It's all he could afford after he put $3,000 in his pistol to make it run like a Glock. Man, episode 1, season 2, we are coming out swinging. We are just giving it to the industry.
So you brought up Glock. I think that is some pretty substantial news with everything that they have done.
I get why they did it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the Glock
Fully
design, I
understand.
think is an amazing pistol. It's boring. It's ugly. We all say that, but they work. They can have lint in them. They can have French fry salt. They can be neglected and they work. And the Glock, I think the V. I wish the marketing people would have came up with something better than the V series pistols. Is it V? Is it
So
5?
it makes sense because it's a Gen 5. It's just
Yeah,
different.
I think the highlight for me though when it launched is all the people that are like Glock is not innovated in, I don't know, 75 years. I don't know how old Gaston Glock was. Probably 250 years old when he passed away. He just looked like this crazy old dude. Rest in peace. Thank you for the great pistol, but we're going to make a few jokes along the way. But everyone that like hates on Glocks, I saw Instagram just flooded with people like, check out the new Glock 19V. And it's like, man, you can say what they say, but every time they come out with a new unupdated gun, people rush out to buy them.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at my Gen 2 like, what's up, buddy?
So I got super lucky. I'd gone into a smaller shop. I'll give them a shout out, TriStar Armory. They're on the west side of Knoxville. They had a couple too many of a 19 MOS model. I was like, this is before Glock announced it. I was like, hey, if you're trying to get out of some of these, I'll take one for a deal. Like you like to say, go in and harass your local gun shop.
Oh yeah, man, it never.
They caught me a decent deal on it. I didn't really need a 19, but I was like, you know what? Can't hurt to have an extra one. Ended up picking up a Radian Ramjet and afterburner set out of a shop that somebody had returned, and it was like they couldn't resell it. It was scratched up a little bit, but it was fine. And slapped that thing in it.
The fact that someone bought a Ramjet, which if you guys don't know, it's a barrel and kind of a compensator that you can put on a 9mm pistol, which if you guys have listened to me talk on the internet, 9mm pistols and adding 2 inches of extra metal, 1 inch of extra metal to reduce recoil to me has always just been kind of moot. But the fact that someone returned it is even funnier.
I'd assume from the looks of it, it looks like they tried to install it and they probably bought the wrong one. Like, I don't know what the deal was. I didn't ask, but I got a good deal on that. So like, I'm into this gun for like $500. Got a slapped on it, and I'm like, I'll take that. We'll run with it.
Yeah, no, it's there is that hate on. There's those guys right now, and I think it's a lot of marketing hype too. And I've been guilty of it in my own, days where people are like, "Oh, metal guns are so much cooler." But man, Glocks just work. Yeah, they're crappy, but they just work. They're the Toyota Corolla guns.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It might not be the most luxurious thing. I'd say they're utilitarian.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's
definitely.
It's like great word to use for that.
It's like that rusty pipe wrench that was in your grandpa's toolbox that no matter what the nut or bolt was, it fit it, and it always got it loose. Was it the coolest tool? Yeah. Were you gonna Snap on wouldn't even make one anymore? They just be like, yeah, it's a stupid old wrench, and you're like, but it works.
But it works.
It works. Yeah, we'll see. I know with Glock kind of going through that, I see a lot more polymer striker fire pistols trying to move into that territory. And I don't really think anything is going to be as prolific as the Glock. You have Ruger making a copy. You've got Palmetto State Armory making a copy.
So, to ride on this topic, the Ruger RXM, which I think it's a pretty neat pistol. It's a Glock. It's a Gen 3.
Yeah.
Mostly. But a little bit more price point. So cool if we can get more people into shooting. Awesome. Yeah. I do believe I'd seen something that one of the states, I believe it was Connecticut, is coming after them now for a similar reason.
I can see it. I think once they push that issue, and the whole guys out there, it's the Glock switch that originally when the Gen 3 Glocks were designed, even Glocks, that there was a fully automatic sear that was designed for these guns that, while it was never legal to sell in the US, it was an actually pretty simple mechanism. And we don't advocate you doing this, but they're changing the design of the pistol to kind of prevent that from being used. And it's just going to, appease the state legislatures and governments. And you just don't want that kind of stuff, I guess, running around everywhere. The Glock 18.
I'll throw a fun fact into that, which a lot of people don't know or suspect. I'm on the sales side of the firearms industry, so I get to see a lot of numbers that are thrown out there, a lot of statistics. Top 3-4-ish states, depending on any given month, for 4473s. What would your guesses be? You might know this, but like when you think like most gun sales in a state, what states instantly hit your mind?
Texas, California. I would probably put Indiana in that argument, and Georgia.
So your top 4 usually fluctuate, and you got it mostly right. It's Texas, California. It's Florida and Georgia.
Florida.
Those
Georgia.
are your top 4, generally speaking. I know Indiana's up there, Kentucky, Ohio, New York's actually pretty high up there.
Yeah, I mean, just based on population, I think in some of those states,
right?
Even with restrictions, there's still a lot of gun owners there.
Well, and that's the point. A lot of people have asked, well, why are they doing this? And there's so much that goes into this, and to not get into politics or the law thing. It's like, look, it's a business. They have to stay in business, and to a point, they have to kind of appease everybody they can.
And this will probably be a topic that's kind of controversial, and maybe this will be something for a dedicated episode. And there's a lot of people that talk about, the Second Amendment and how it's the most absolute after the First Amendment. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to support a gun company that's going to like bend to one or two states or even the federal government's requirements. But you just said it there. They have a big financial interest sometimes, and they have dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of employees. If we lost, companies like Remington, it hurts whole communities. So sometimes there is a little bit of give and take there. And I know some people get upset at me for saying that, but is people that may enjoy guns for different reasons, you got to be kind of mindful of that, and there are those diehard, I'll say patriots that own guns because tyrannical governments, but for every handful of those, there's another handful of guys that just want a gun that they can go shoot paper with, and they may be Olympic 22 shooters that have no need for an assault rifle, or you have guys that are high power long range shooters that really don't get the necessary need to carry a 9mm handgun that fits in your front pocket. As gun owners in a community, we got to kind of think outside the box and look at everyone's, and I'm not saying we have to compromise for everything, but there's a middle ground, and I think sometimes gun owners get lost in that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I'd agree 100%. I think there's a misconception that our industry is a little bit larger than it actually is. So any loss of ground, I will say, or sales or people, and I will be honest, it is not a great time in the firearms industry. Things are slow. Everybody knows money is tight, and you usually know somebody when a company has an issue. Somebody that gets affected by it in one way or another. So
it's definitely, I turned 18, and we hinted on this. I when I was getting into the legal age of buying guns, the Clinton era assault weapons ban was kind of sunsetting. And so I remember how crazy the gun industry was then. A Ruger 1022 mag was $100 if you wanted to buy, a high capacity 1022 magazine. And now you see them in some websites, a 3-pack for $65. And I see some people scoff at those prices. And I'm like, listen here, you have no, like Lord of the Rings music plays and the sky darkens around me. And I'm like, I was there, Gandalf, during the dark times when you bought you just turned 21, you bought your first Glock 19 and you had to pay $120 for a 13-round magazine. It was insane. So there is that give and take. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And to kind of spin this off into what we have coming up, I think you wanted to touch on this. We're coming up on the holidays. What are your wonderful Thanksgiving plans?
Hunt. I take that's there's that rutcation. I'm taking a full 10 days to go hunt. I go down to deer camp and I hunt a little bit of deer. I hunt a little bit of squirrel, hunt rabbits. I mean, we just like to spend time out in the woods. Maybe we have a few libations. Not saying we do. Not saying we don't. Maybe there's some shenanigans with side-by-sides and UTVs and ATVs that happen, but I'm going to be hunting, but that doesn't mean I'm not planning for the holidays. What about you, Thanksgiving week?
I'm going to be traveling to Virginia, so I'm going to be spending some time with my girlfriend's family there. But on the way in Richmond, I'm gonna stop at Green Top. Really, really awesome hunting and gun store.
Where is Green Top again? I always forget.
They're right outside of Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond. They
Yep.
do the expo, don't they?
They do. They do a really large expo. I have not personally attended. I know a bunch of people that have.
I
Super
have not
cool.
attended, but it's like 2 or 3 days long. Guys, look it up. Green Top. They do this expo once a year. I can't even remember what time of the year it is. It's just so many events run together. But
It's
if you're looking for
October.
something to do, that's usually a big one. It makes waves in the gun industry. It's maybe next year pop up. We should do that sometime. Just take the podcast, go to one of these events, get a little bit of a booth, and hang out with people, and just have a good time.
Yeah, I think we should. I think that'd be fun. And I'm gonna kind of lead this into like, so the holidays are great. You know, travel, food, but I'd say the big one is the shopping. Everybody likes to go out. I mean, I don't personally go out, but I love picking up the phone and going, I wonder what Black Friday deals we got on the pews.
So I'm kind of the opposite. I'm more about the food.
I like the food too.
So the
I
food,
just
but
made
I
3 apple
think
pies. So
I want to say yesterday. So we're filming this on November 17th, and I saw PSA's already got Black Friday deals on their website. So I missed that it used to be like this thing that we anticipated and we waited for, like, Thanksgiving night. I mean, even for the gun industry, at the end of Thanksgiving, we're like, oh man, who's going to do it first? AIM Surplus. And you'd wait for that email that came out like 10 or 11 o'clock. And so this year, yeah, PSA is like Black Friday. I've already got like their Black Friday email. And I'm like, listen here, guys, it is Monday.
I've seen a lot of pre-Black Friday sales happen.
Yeah, I missed the days where it was one day. And I know we never really did it in the gun industry, but I think that would be good. Like, just set people up out front of your local Target Sports, those little like blow up boxing gloves, and be like, listen here, everyone, we have one case of 5.56 for $99. Last man standing gets it. And just let them, give them some padded gloves and maybe like an inflatable helmet, but just let like 4 or 5 people just, hilariously
Just go to town.
Yeah, go to town on each other for that one case of ammo.
1,000 rounds of green tip. That's all you get.
Yeah, $99, just one case, and then see people camp out and do that there. I guess, with those emails coming out, what's something you hope you would see on sale this year in a Black Friday ad?
Something I've hoped and I have seen a lot of, and it is due to some recent changes. I've seen a lot of suppressor sales going on. And if you have been on the edge about picking up a can, one, I highly recommend it. There are 2 guns sitting on this very nicely guest bed that I have behind me. That's on the floor because I don't have a bed.
We got to get you some artwork for you behind the wall. We do put these on YouTube now.
I have artwork.
And
the office has been the last thing I've worked.
Yeah, it's a tan brown wall. I mean, mine's just my messy workbench. Suppressors, yeah, I think with the passing, we'll see what happens after January 1st. But even with the $200, guys, like the wait times right now are ridiculous. Like you can get a tax stamp back in 1 or 2 days.
From what I've seen, there's a bunch of shops that are allowing you to buy cans now and put them in layaway. That's awesome.
No, I'm not waiting. Like, I'm not waiting.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, look, if you can afford the $200 now, especially with the sales that are going on, some of the companies have been running rebates. They're giving you, money for your QDs. Your some of them have been sending prepaid cards, I guess. And get the can now.
If like 5 years ago, and I don't even say 7 years ago, I could go and buy a suppressor, and there was like a fast pass where they're like, hey, instead of paying $200, would you pay $500 and you get your tax stamp approved tomorrow? I'd be like, yep, sign me up right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of people doing that now. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to pay for it now, and I'm going to wait 8 months to get it. And I'm like, well, you just like did what we've been doing for, I don't know, since 1934.
I'll speak from experience. In my experience, I'm sure you have more in this, but the first 2 cans I had bought when I moved to Tennessee, I waited about 9 months for them.
Yeah,
and
like
3 through 12 has been 2 to 4 day turnarounds.
I've had a few way back in the day that took 9 to 11 months, depending on what I was doing. Form 1s used to take way longer, and I don't know if it was the research that they would do for them. But no, now I'm a spoiled brat. I can go, do a little kiosk thing, hop on eForms, whatever it may be, and go home Monday. The dealer will call and be like, hey, your can's approved. And I'm like, it's a great, it's the craziest time to be alive. And I get it. The tax stamp is always kind of sucked, but yeah, silencers are cool. Like, I don't care.
Yes.
They're cool. So
I agree. They make
And,
shooting
yeah.
very enjoyable.
I would agree with the rebates. Yeah. If there's some good deals floating around on those, you know, I'm always in the market for another 22 can. I don't know. Just like them. They're always great.
Yep.
I could use a dedicated 5.56 can too. My old ones are getting pretty beat up, so it's pretty much time to upgrade those.
Yeah, I've got a decent selection right now. I'm pretty happy. So I actually bought some cans from Silencer Co. They had just put the rebate up, didn't even know about it. Took all that rebate money because they were just store credit, and went onto the website, bought a 30 cal can. So I bought 4, I got 1 free. Not the best deal, but it's 25% off that.
It's a lot cheaper than hearing aids. I'll say that. And with those rebates, you can buy mounts and, you know, kind of goofy stuff like that. All my hunting rifles are suppressed. Most of my PCCs are suppressed now. I think about really the only thing I don't shoot suppressed is like my everyday carry guns. So like my Glock 19, some of my 1911s that I carry regularly, my revolvers, but all my hunting rifles are suppressed. It makes life so much better.
It does. I, again, 100% agree.
So yeah, for Black Friday, yeah, if you see some deals like that, I think that would be cool. For me, I made a joke earlier about it in the week, and I posted it on Facebook where it's like, you know, if your Black Friday deals aren't buy one, get one free, halves of beef, 50% off car insurance for the next year, or like a 3.5% HELOC, don't email me. I have no interest in it. But when I do see some of the emails come out, ammo is always one, but I don't I'm buying hunting ammo and things like that, more, you know, low volume ammo. But I think
ammo, and this is again from some things I've heard, I think we're seeing ammo at probably the base of what it's going to get to. I don't think we're going to see ammo get much cheaper.
No, it's a commodities thing. I think the days of like 223 for 25 cents a round's long gone. Seeing 9mm back to like 22 cents, 23 cents a round, you know, you can get 1,000 rounds for like 220. That's a deal. I'd snap that up.
I've seen some around there that 2 to 220, like you said, and I have been just kind of buying 1,000 rounds here and there. You know, some oddball rounds like 38 special.
Yeah. See, I
picked up 1,000 rounds of that.
So this has kind of been my tactic, and I've done this for years. I mean, for years. I don't really buy cases of ammo anymore unless it's like just a ridiculously good deal. I just go to the gun shop every Thursday or Friday with $100, and I spend my $100. And I may grab like a box of 45. It may be all 9mm one week. It just depends. And it's crazy how much ammo I've accumulated that way and not really noticed it. Where I get home and I'm like, oh man, where am I going to put this? And, you know, you're stashing around, or maybe, you know, 410 shot shells. So if you are buying ammo in bulk, yeah, sometimes it's cool to look for a deal, but sometimes you just walk into your gun shop and you see like 3 boxes of 8mm Mauser. You're like, yeah, I got one of those. For a while. Yeah, and then you take it home. So I don't do a lot of bulk purchases. Subsonic 9mm is one that I do. Like if I see a good deal on that every now and again. So maybe if I see
I just bought 1,000 rounds of that.
Yeah, some 147. Those MP5 clones, you know, whether it's from PTR, you know, Mac, or even an HK, you can burn some ammo through those. You know, so Black Friday and what's changed in the industry, maybe we'll see some super safeties on sale. That'd be cool.
Maybe.
Like the whole super safety thing going on in the industry is absolutely ridiculous. I never thought I would see the day where we had stuff like that happening, you know, from binary triggers to forced reset triggers, but the super safeties are just bonkers. They're ridiculously cool.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting thing. And I feel like we're dancing a fine line.
Oh, very, very fine line. Pistol braces were one that I always said was a very fine line, and you can kind of see the slippery slope that created for a number of years. So super safeties. I'm not a big full auto guy. All honesty, I don't mind shooting them every now and again, but it's, you know,
it's a fun way to burn some ammo. You do it a couple times, you're like, ooh, that was fun, and then after that, it's just expensive.
Yeah. It's like doing donuts in your car. You're like, this is cool. until you have to go buy new tires, and you're
Until
like,
the cops show up.
yeah,
And they're
or,
like, what are you
or
doing?
like I said, you burn through your tires or all your ammo, and you're like, man, I used to have a lot of 9mm, and now it's gone, and you're waiting for PSA to drop their Black Friday deals 2 weeks early again.
It happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if that's your thing,
do it. I mean, it's cool.
yeah.
So once we get through Thanksgiving, Christmas is right around the corner, and we'll do an episode more, dedicated on that, like dedicated, Christmas. We'll bring on some guests to talk about some Christmas, shopping lists and wish lists.
I was going to say, we should do a what to buy your gun owner. Sounds like.
And it doesn't have to be a gun,
Just we'll do that. We'll do that one, and we'll just be like, hey, you know what? If you want some gun stuff for Christmas and you're sick of getting socks and deodorant, just send this to your wife or your significant other or your parents maybe, and be like, hey, you should listen to this podcast. You might learn some things.
Yeah, listen and watch the holiday podcast. We will tell you exactly what to buy. If it is, a CVA and 300 PRC with the 22-inch fluted barrel threaded, that'd be a pretty cool gun. Just saying.
I wouldn't be upset if that showed up in a stocking.
What are you gonna buy yourself? Ahead of the holiday season, you're out shopping and you're like, you know what, I deserve this, because no one's gonna buy it for you.
Nobody. I'm gonna get socks and deodorant, probably some coal too. I've been bad. I've splurged a little bit as I sit back here and look at some rifles that I recently picked up and some new suppressors. And I actually have a Proof Research Elevation MCR rifle on order, which I have to finish paying for. Yep.
Nighthawk and a Proof Research in the same year?
It helps to have friends.
So
it's still a lift.
If anyone is wondering, I don't pay Tim anything to do this, so he may be selling his feet pictures on the internet somewhere.
I'll throw that Instagram up on my OK's Tim page. You guys can go check that out. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm a habitual gun buyer, and then I get some use out of them, and I decide it's not the right thing for me sometimes.
Yeah, trading them around is fine. I think that's a cool thing. It's a little bit easier to do with guns. I do take, my local gun shop. I'm always walking in there with like guns that I'll shoot for a while, and I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. I've really lost interest though in new calibers.
That's been a huge thing lately. I've seen a lot of that. And actually, when I was talking to some people that I'm friends with over at Proof and some other people I know that are into long range, that came up. And I went with a 308 rifle. It's readily available. Ammo's there. It's not the cheapest. It's not the most expensive. And I have been getting recommendations for like the 7mm backcountry. And I'm sure it's a great round and application for certain things, but I had bought a Ruger Gen 1 Ruger American Gen 1 and 6.5 Creedmoor. I enjoyed the rifle. It was a good rifle, but at the time 6.5 was expensive. That was a new round. I have since moved on from that gun, and you look at 6.5 now, it's affordable, but I kind of feel like it's fizzled out. I kind of feel like
I have to take a deep breath on this one. And I made a joke earlier this week, and I'm hunting with 308 this year, and I love 308, but I've stopped calling it 308. I call it 7.6 Creedmoor. And a buddy of mine was like, what is 7.6 Creedmoor? And I went off on this like great tirade. We'll call it a rant soapbox. I'm like, oh man, yeah, 7.6 Creedmoor. You've never heard of it? It uses the same case that the 6.5 Creedmoor does, but instead it's necked up to 30 caliber. And oddly enough, the U.S. military has spent the last almost 60 years developing this round. And my buddy's just looking at me dumbfounded. He's like, holy, like, how do I not know about
heard of this?
And then I kept like laying it on, and I'm like, the great thing about it is you can shoot bullets from 110 grains all the way up to 220. So you have a large variety of bullets to choose from. And I was like, you can shoot from a 18-inch, barrel with a 1 in 10 twist all the way up to a 24-inch barrel with like a 1 in 12 twist. The velocities it sits right in the middle of like 6.5 Creedmoor, 7mm PRC. And I was like, the great thing about it though, there's like over 1,000 factory loads available to it. And he literally like started to pick his phone up and he's like, I hate you. And I'm like, why? He's like, you're talking about 308 Winchester, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, man. Like why? Like, it's such a cool round, even though it's been around forever. I was big into 6.5 Creedmoor when it first came out, but there was like 2 bullet weights that were available for it. You had, 129 grain copper bullets or 140 grain, regular, copper and lead bullets. And that was really about it. And subsonic loads weren't that great. There was a couple companies that made them. And now that I see like 7mm backcountry, and then,
we got 22 arc, 6
yeah,
millimeter Creed, 6 arc,
and
7
I always look
PRC,
at I always look at like the ballistic tables, and you see all these little squiggly lines going up and down, left and right, and then you put 308 Winchester in there, and it just kind of rides the middle of all of them. And I'm like, master of none, but does all of it pretty good. So I'm actually kind of back to 308.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's always this discussion of you have your tried and true, and then the new next best thing. And I think innovation's good, and I think it is something this industry lacks at times. But I get into this conversation with people, and it's like you with the 308. There's one gun I always go back to when I deer hunt. I've gone deer hunting with 6.5, a 12 gauge. I've used the 308. I think I borrowed a buddy's 243 once, hate it or love it as a deer round. And I always find myself going back to a 30-30 with Remington core locks. Everyone's like, wow, why do you shoot a 30-30? It's only so good for so far out. I'm like, look, for what I do, a Marlin 336C with iron sights and a Remington core lock is all I need. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not taking a 500-yard shot on deer. But there's plenty of people that do. And I think when they start to get into those wildcat rounds, that's where they like them.
I don't even think they're wildcat rounds at this point. I just think that they are like mainstays. And I like to see the specialization that's come out of some of these cartridges. We've taken the 308 case and we've made phenomenal rounds. 6.5 Creedmoor is a great round. Does it have its limitations? Yes, but so does 308. So does 30-30, like you said. I think hunters and even shooters need to be more realistic about their capabilities. I had another guy that we talked to on Instagram all the time. He's like, oh, I want to get a 7mm PRC because I want to shoot out to a mile. And I'm like, can you shoot 223 out to 500 yards? And he's like, no. And I'm like, you do not need to spend the time and money yet. Like, work for that. Make it a goal. I'm not telling you no, and I'm not telling you you're not capable of it, but
to dog on myself, I will compare this to an MOA guarantee on a rifle. Proof has a great MOA guarantee on their guns and barrels. They're known to be accurate. I could have probably gone out and bought a Savage Axis and 308 and shot that gun probably just as well as this proof. Now there's a lot of differences, but I think a lot of the time it's going to come down to the person behind the gun. And
it's always the person behind the gun. Ammo is another big part of it. A lot of companies that do the MOA guarantee, it's with a very specific ammo.
Correct.
For me, I do a lot of hunting. So, my tiny little Remington Model 7, it's got a 16-inch barrel. Is it going to be a sub MOA gun? No. But I can keep a fist-sized group out to about 250 yards with most hunting loads. Not 175 grain, Sierra Match Kings, but your 150 grain Remington core lock that you'd go buy at Walmart for $35 a box that you can buy anywhere. Yep. I think that's my affinity for 308. 7.6 Creedmoor, because it's a way better name. Doesn't make me sound like I'm 90 years old. No, I'm making a t-shirt already. 7.6 Creedmoor. And, I'm going to put the when you hear about, when you don't call it 308 and you call it that, and you read about like all of it, what it does, bullet weight, you're like, oh, dang, that's pretty kick ass. Like, but again, a lot of shooters, they run out and they buy, like, they think a $2,000 gun is going to make them a better shooter. And sometimes it does. There are great rifles to be built. The Remington 700 Action, if it was, something from Stiller, Tac Ops, AJ Brown, you're going to get a phenomenal shooting rifle. But if you don't have good trigger discipline, good breathing control, you're not going to get the groups you expect out of it. So, Yeah, but I just, I still love 300 Blackout, but I'm not overly excited about 8.6 Blackout.
I ran my 300 Blackout phase. I had a Zev pistol. It was quiet, really quiet gun.
Yeah.
With a suppressor, of course. And it was cool. And I started to look at it. Well, I've got one gun that shoots 300 Blackout, and it's fun to shoot, but it's a little bit more expensive. I don't really need this. I've got my 5.56 AR. That's not quiet, but guess what? I can run a 9mm sub gun with a can and have the similar amount of fun for a little bit more, an affordable round to shoot.
So you like your Marlin 336, and that's a great gun. I mean, even the Winchester 94s and 3030. To me, 300 Blackout is our generation's 3030. You can put it in an AR that is relatively cheap. We all can go to PSA. We can get an AR for $400 in 300 Blackout. You can shoot, again, 110 grain bullets all the way up to 220 grain subs. It is a 100. You could shoot anything from 50 out to about 150 yards with it. The one thing that separates it from 3030 is it has better bullet selection. There's very limited bullet selection. So when a lot of people talk to me about 300 Blackout, and I own a couple ARs, I have a Q Minifix, so I kind of have the gamut in 300 Blackout rifles. 300 Blackout in a bolt gun like the Q Minifix, even though the Q Minifix is the most mediocre precision rifle ever built, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, it's a great utility rifle, but it's not a great precision rifle. But that gun in 300 Blackout makes the most sense to me. I even think a lever action 300 Blackout just eclipses the 3030 with just better bullets. But on paper, it's a 150, maybe a 200 yard hunting gun. The whole thing for Navy SEALs and Spec Ops and all that. Yeah, 223, 5.56, buy a 5.56 AR. So if you're going to use 300 Blackout, in my opinion, it's for hunting. Me as a hunter, I'm in my 40s. Hunting with an AR is kind of cool. It really is kind of cool versus hunting with a lever action. So that's where I leave 300 Blackout. And it's a fun round, but it's not like the wonder round. And I think A6 Blackout.
I think I'll probably, we've talked offline a little bit about this, and I have slacked on hunting the past 3 years. I've gone hunting when I've gone home to New York and had land. So Jahred has so generously offered me an extended invites, and I have yet to take advantage of them. I need to. But one thing I love to do, and I've talked about it before, is predator hunting. And I will probably follow in your footsteps and get a 300 Blackout for that, or a very similar suppressible round. Because I can see that benefit, and I'm kind of contradicting myself. So I think in the tactical application for me, it didn't really do it. There are a bunch of great uses for it. I will see myself getting one just to run for a hunting gun, though.
Yeah, is like a self-defense round or do-all round. 223 is great. 300 Blackout, though, I think it shines in subsonics. It shines, with what discrete ballistics is doing with it. I think it's a cool predator hunting round. It's a great deer hunting round. My kids hunt with 300 Blackout. I hunt with it, quite often when my daughter isn't stealing my Q Minifix. So the gun fits small people so well. But no, with predator hunting, it's a great round at night. Even then, 6.5 Creedmoor at night, man. I hate 6.5 Creedmoor for deer hunting, but man, for a 200, 300 yard shot on a coyote, woo,
I've got a fox that's mounted up that I smoked with a 6.5. So
yeah, yeah, man. We kind of really, I like our episodes when we do that. We just we just get a topic and we're like, man, I'm just gonna run. You're coming along, like, come on, we're going on an adventure.
Our little side quests.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about what I was going to buy this holiday season, so I don't care anymore. Yeah,
it's all right.
I guess as we look forward to more episodes, Tim, let's get back into this. Let's talk to the people. We've got some guests lined up to bring on later on. We're going to try and do this twice a month. We kind of set the bar pretty high earlier, and we thought we would do this every week. But I think a bi-monthly or bi-weekly show is going to be a great fit for the Okayest Shooter and Powderhorn podcast. Tim, as we kind of ramp up, what's some things that you want to see or do on the show?
I think the big thing for me moving forward is I'm going to be pushing myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. Um, there's going to be some great opportunities for me coming up to take some more classes, and that's a huge thing. I've talked about it before. I have lacked. I shoot a lot for work. I've lacked to take the time out for myself to go shoot. So I'm gonna have the chance to do some classes, possibly run a shoot house and do that kind of thing. I will probably end up doing some long distance shooting classes because I've never done it. I know a bunch of people that do it. I might piggyback off them a little bit. Just kind of get outside my comfort zone a little bit, try some new things, and learn more is going to be what I do. And I'm hoping to kind of talk about that through my learning process because I kind of feel like that's what this is about. Is we don't know everything.
Yeah.
I think I like to think I know a lot, and just today I bought a Woodmaster. It was a 7400. I'm like, nah, that's a 7600. I was wrong.
That's a cool gun, and I hope people have open minds when they are in the gun industry. A lot of people get really emotional, and their egos are invested in whatever form of shooting that they're into, and just I think having the open mind that everyone is here to have a little bit of fun. There's that time to be serious, and there's also that time to just buy something because it's cool. For me, I want to get back to talking to the people. I know being in the industry, we get opportunities sometimes to talk to people that are inaccessible, but I've spent more time at ranges and even on Instagram talking to just regular dudes that they have like 28 followers, but they're telling me why they like guns. And I'm like, this is way more interesting than talking to someone who's got 1 million followers, that's, they're saying it how it is. And they're still the guy that, yeah, they only have $800 to spend every 6 months on a gun. So they're really careful about it. They're really thoughtful about it. Almost borderline annoying sometimes when they're asking questions like, Jahred, you seem to know a lot about guns, and it's like, but it's cool to hear them kind of work through the process. And I think I want to bring some people back on the show to talk about that because, you being in the industry, me being in the industry, we have infinite resources. We could, hey, I'm looking at buying a, proof research. You probably could reach out to someone who's pretty high level employee there and get answers that the common person and, just a normal everyday gun owner that goes into the gun shop that's like, hey, I'm here to buy a gun for my wife. And they're like, start yanking out Smith & Wesson J frames. And you're like, no, no. Like there's better ways to do this. So I think that's my goal is just to get more with the people and spend some time, getting back into it. What got people into guns?
Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with that. I think, that's part of I want to push out of my comfort zone again. There's one of the guests you brought up who I will not name. We'll keep that a surprise. But, I'd say said individual is looking at a subset of the firearms world that I enjoy and I like to get into a little bit, but he's just head over heels into it. And I would say it's almost a specialty to him in some ways. And I wouldn't say I have a specialty of anything, and then some of the guys I know they're in the long distance, that's their world. That's what they live in. So, getting to better understand all the levels. And I'll throw this out there. If you guys have questions about something and you're on the edge and you just don't know, maybe your local gun shop isn't giving you answers. They're kind of sick of you asking those questions. I mean, feel free to reach out to me and, the OK Shooter page and just ask. We'll try and direct you the best we can.
It's not always us giving you the answer, but sometimes it's us putting you in connection with someone that does have that experience or does have more insight into that. Like I'm not the person to ask about certain types of firearms. I'm more of a hunter, not really big into, the precise calculations. I'm always, a lot of guys like shooting tiny groups. I'm more concerned with first round hits. And when you get in a long range, you're going to be like, math is stupid. And then you're going to look back at your 16-year-old self and be like, you dummy, math was really important. It was really, really important. I think if more math teachers said, hey, if you ever want to get in a long range shooting, knowing this is going to help you out a lot more of us would have paid attention, but we didn't understand that. So good episode to get us back and going. I'm looking forward to my rutcation this weekend. I'm going to do some shooting. Got some cool guns to take down. So stay tuned. Check us out on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can always go to the website, okayashooter.com. Tim, where can people find you on Instagram?
Okay, it's Tim.
There you go. Make sure you check out all the other shows that are part of the Okayest Podcast Network that include cool ones like Okayest Hunter, Camp Okayest, and of course, the Wild Strength Podcast. There's a great group of us that are just regular people enjoying what we do outside. Till next time, guys, this is Jahred and Tim. We are the people behind the Okayest Shooter. Tim, I always like to throw out that little bit of advice. What you got for him?
Coming up on the Black Friday deals, if you're on the edge and you think you're going to like it, just buy it. Why not?
Even though this isn't a hunting show, this one relates to me. If you are going hunting, don't check the wind with a can of aerosol doe pee. Till next time, guys. We'll see you soon. No, literally, I maced myself over the weekend. Pointed it away from me and was like, psh, and then the wind was like 8 miles an hour back to your face. My hat still smells like piss.
I keep seeing the Instagram reels and stuff, and it's like, just remember when you take your good buddy out hunting for the first time, just tell him that you need to spray the doe urine on his boots.
No, never do that. Till next time, guys.